The next thing I like to talk about is vagus nerve tone. I'm all about the vagus nerve. It's been a conversation piece for the last 5 years, the vagus nerve. In that is cranial nerve number 10. It's in the cranium. It goes from the medulla oblongata down through the transverse colon, essentially the bottom of the brainstem going through the carotid foramen down through into the transverse colon. So basically in your intestinal region, it attaches to something called a neuropod, which enables it to communicate and sense what's going on inside your gut. So your vagus nerve is your main communicator from your microbiota to your gut to brain axis. It's the critical neurological impulse that allows you to speak from your gut to your brain and communicate with your superhighway to health. So it goes up 80 to 90% afferent. It's 90%, excuse me, it's about 10 to 20% efferent on the way down. Vagus nerve tone has been depicted strongly in recent data as one of the key components to having long COVID and having many issues with breathing, heart rate, decreased heart rate variability, and digestion. So when vagus nerve tone is decreased, you're shutting off your digestion process because vagus nerve is a rest and digest nerve. It's a wine and dine nerve. Everybody's doing everything to stimulate vagus nerve tone or to equalize vagus nerve. Why? Vagus nerve is associated with what we call the parasympathetic nervous system. It's your one and dine system, as I said before. You have two systems. You have a sympathetic, which is the accelerator in your body. It's your fight or flight. And you have the parasympathetic, which is your brakes. You want the right medium. I believe that vagus nerve tone or appropriate vagus nerve tone really exemplifies the idea of homeostasis. So if I went boo and you went, vagus nerve shuts off, sympathetic goes up. If I say, Lisa, it's a great day, have a little wine, let's have the conversation like we were before, reflecting on life, up comes your vagus nerve, down comes your sympathetic nervous system. So they're more like a balance. They're a seesaw between the two. So for me, in a musculoskeletal light, I found that if I'm able to stimulate the vagus nerve, then I'm able to help quell a lot of musculoskeletal injuries. And you can do so with low-level laser therapy. I'm a big laser fan. So I've got a patented protocol that allows me to laser the vagus nerve to decrease the tone. Nutrition and lifestyle also lead to proper vagus nerve tone. Omega-3 fatty acids, L-citrulline, intermittent fasting, proper sleep, all will allow for proper vagus nerve tone. If I were to continue with this, and I know I'm giving a little bit of a dissertation on the hallmarks of aging, but I think this backdrop,
great.
Thanks. This backdrop is critical for us to really have some conversation pieces. There's also what we call something the telomere shortening. So as telomere shorten, you get closer to termination. The loss of muscle mass, and I know this excites you. It has been stated, Gabriella Lyons says it all the time, muscle mass is your longevity organ, and I agree. However, I want to up the ante. Dr. Rob says it's not just muscle mass. It's muscle to fat ratio as the next step up the health ladder. In that I'm a 185-pound male, let's say I have 10% body fat. If I'm a 205-pound male and I have the same muscle mass, but I have 20 extra pounds of fat, that makes me a 22% male, and I'm on my way to, I'm overweight, going towards obesity at some point. So the ratio is also critical. The baseline is muscle mass. The next step up is muscle to fat ratio. And lastly, grip strength or performance strength. So you're an endurance athlete, there's climbing, there's things like that. You not only need to have muscle mass and a good muscle to fat ratio, because you don't want to carry any extra weight in adipose tissue, but you want to be strong. That's the height of it. So I think she made the baseline. I think we've added those steps to it.
I like it.
Yeah, it's a new concept, and it's really people are running with it. I'm excited about it. Disrupted nutrient sensing. So essentially not to go through all the different pathways. The idea for health is to turn on the proper switches and shut off the ones that do not promote health. So again, Christmas tree, you have to turn everything on for it to go up. the health tree to a human, you have to turn on the right switch, turn off the switch that needed to be turned off because it could be pro-inflammatory. And lastly, compromised autophagy, really going to the idea of us not being able to rid ourselves of bad cells. Those hallmarks of aging, I makeshifted them, really came from a 2013 article. They said all hallmarks of aging are interconnected. Dysbiosis, the leveling of good and bad bacteria, is a newly added hallmark. How much good bacteria do you need? 85%. So everybody out there, you really can't take a day off from your health meal schedule. You need to eat healthy all the time. So dysbiosis is an added hallmark, along with chronic inflammation and disabled macroautophagy.